Sometimes she won't say a single word, but her actions will scream louder than love itself. The question is, are you even listening? When a woman becomes deeply attached, her attention stops being something she gives consciously. It becomes a part of her nature. She doesn't need reminders. She doesn't need effort. And she doesn't need to force herself to remember what matters to you. It simply happens. Her mind, her heart, her energy, they begin to orbit around your existence. The smallest things about you start to matter to her, even the ones you don't notice about yourself. The way you hold your cup, the tone of your voice when you're tired, the silence in your eyes when you're upset. She reads them like pages of a familiar book, not because she's trying to analyze you, but because she's emotionally synchronized with you. A woman's attention is not casual when she's attached. It becomes intentional without intention. You might think she's just being observant, but she's actually memorizing the emotional patterns that define you. She remembers what makes you smile because she wants to bring that smile back when the world makes you forget it. She remembers what hurts you because she never wants to be the reason for that pain. Her memory becomes selective, not for her benefit, but for yours. She's tuned into your wavelength so naturally that even your unspoken emotions don't escape her notice. If you ever find her finishing your sentences, predicting your reactions, or understanding what you mean without you saying a word, that's not coincidence. That's emotional familiarity. She has studied your energy long enough to sense when something feels off. You could tell her, "I'm fine," but she will know you're not. She will look at your eyes, your body language, your pauses, and understand that you're holding something in. That's the kind of attention that doesn't come from curiosity or control. It comes from connection. She doesn't want to invade your space. She just wants to understand the emotional temperature of your soul. Her attention also reflects in the little acts of care you might overlook. She'll send you a message when she feels you've had a heavy day, not because you said anything, but because she felt it. She'll remember your deadlines, your family worries, your quiet fears, and somehow find ways to comfort you without making it obvious. She'll ask questions not to pry, but to stay connected to the rhythm of your life. When she's attached, she doesn't need grand gestures to express it. Her presence itself becomes a silent reassurance, a calm energy that wraps around you even when she's not speaking. What's truly remarkable is that she does all of this effortlessly. She doesn't have to remind herself to care. It flows naturally, like breathing. It's not a performance, it's her emotional reality. Her attention becomes a reflection of where her heart lives. Even if she's surrounded by people, she'll notice the one change in your tone, the one hint of sadness in your words, the one moment where you hesitate, because she's emotionally attuned to you in a way others are not. When she loves, she doesn't just see you, she feels you even in silence, even in distance, even in moments you don't notice yourself. When a woman becomes emotionally attached, something subtle yet profound begins to happen. She starts to mirror your energy without even realizing it. It's not imitation, it's resonance. Her emotional state begins to align with yours. Her tone adapts to your rhythm, and her reactions start to reflect your internal world. It's as if her soul begins to move in sync with yours. You'll notice that when you're quiet, she becomes softer, calmer, more reflective. When you're joyful, her laughter feels lighter, her words flow with ease, and her presence seems brighter. This mirroring isn't something she plans. It's a subconscious connection that happens when she's emotionally in tune with you. Her energy starts to adapt to yours because your emotional frequency has become familiar, comforting, and meaningful to her. She starts to absorb your moods without needing an explanation. When you're drained, she feels it too, often without understanding why. It's like her energy is wired to yours, and your emotional state silently dictates the atmosphere between you. She begins to respond to your silences more than your words. If you're restless, she might find herself pacing too. If you're anxious, she senses it in her chest. That's the kind of connection where two energies stop functioning as individuals and start moving as one current. You'll see it in the small things, the way she starts to use your favorite phrases, the way her humor begins to sound like yours, the way her body language unconsciously mimics yours when you talk. Her attachment reflects in how deeply her subconscious starts to synchronize with your patterns. It's not about losing herself. It's about emotionally blending with the person who makes her feel safe. A woman only mirrors a man's energy when she feels emotionally secure around him. She lets her guard down, and in that vulnerability, her natural instinct is to align with the person who anchors her emotions. If you speak with calm confidence, she absorbs that peace. If you're full of doubt and chaos, she begins to carry that heaviness too. That's why emotionally mature women are selective about where they place their attention, because once attached, they don't just love with their heart, they connect with their energy. Her mood becomes a quiet reflection of how deeply she's connected to you, not out of dependence, but because emotional mirroring is the language of attachment. You'll find her adopting your lifestyle rhythms, your sleep pattern, your music taste, even your way of thinking. She starts to find beauty in the things you love because through you, those things gain new meaning. She'll catch herself reacting the way you would or thinking of how you might respond before making a choice. That's when you realize her attachment isn't just emotional. It's psychological and spiritual. Her energy starts to synchronize with yours because you've become her emotional compass. It's a kind of unspoken togetherness where your highs lift her and your lows pull her down, not because she's weak, but because she's emotionally invested on a level that doesn't need words to explain it. When a woman is deeply attached to you, her emotional balance begins to intertwine with yours. Your happiness becomes the quiet rhythm that her heart follows, and your sadness becomes the shadow she can't ignore. It's not that she loses her individuality, it's that her emotions start responding to yours in ways she can't consciously control. When she sees you smiling, something inside her settles, like her world has found its balance again. But when you're distant, hurt, or burdened, she feels a restlessness she can't explain. It's not pity or sympathy, it's connection. She feels what you feel because her heart has emotionally aligned with yours. Your state of mind becomes a reflection she carries within herself even when she tries to hide it. You'll notice that when you're happy, she glows differently. Her conversations become lighter, her laughter more genuine, her presence warmer. It's not about material joy or romantic gestures. It's about emotional harmony. Your peace radiates through her like sunlight through an open window. When she knows you're content, when she senses that you're at ease with life, her soul relaxes. Because for her, your happiness is reassurance. It tells her that the person she's emotionally anchored to is safe, steady, and at peace. But when your energy shifts, when she senses worry or disappointment in your tone, her own emotions begin to fluctuate. She'll feel uneasy, even if you haven't said a word, because her heart has learned the language of your silence. This emotional connection is subtle but powerful. You might think you're hiding your pain well. She still feels it. You may pretend everything's fine. She still notices the heaviness in your words, the hesitation in your laughter. And no matter how much she tries to separate herself, she can't, because when a woman truly attaches, empathy becomes her instinct. Your emotions ripple through her like waves through still water. She starts to internalize your energy. Your excitement lifts her higher, but your sadness quietly dims her light. That's why you might see her become unusually quiet when you're struggling, or more nurturing when you're lost. Her emotional world bends and adjusts itself according to the state of yours, even when she doesn't speak about it. This connection isn't about dependence or weakness, it's the emotional depth of genuine care. Her mood reacts to yours because she feels safe enough to let your energy influence her own. She's not guarding herself anymore. She's allowing herself to feel with you, not just for you. When you're winning, her pride and joy are sincere, not out of obligation, but out of shared happiness. When you're broken, her spirit bends toward healing you, often forgetting her own pain in the process. A woman who's attached doesn't need to be told when something's wrong. She just knows. Your emotions become threads woven into her day, guiding her tone, her silence, her expressions, and sometimes even her sleep. Because for her, your joy isn't just yours anymore. It's something she experiences within herself. When a woman is deeply attached to someone, her instinct to protect that person awakens naturally. It's not about ownership, control, or dominance. It's about care that runs so deep. She wants to make sure nothing in this world harms your peace. She doesn't cage you. She guards your space. She doesn't demand to be the center of your world. She simply wants to make sure that world remains safe, stable, and real. Her protection isn't loud or obvious. It shows up in subtle ways, like the way she defends you when you're not around, or how she warns you about people she feels might not have good intentions. She won't interfere in your freedom, but she'll quietly stand between you and anything that threatens your emotional or mental balance. That's the difference between a woman who's possessive and one who's protective. Possessiveness is born from insecurity, but protection is born from love. You'll notice it in the way she observes things that you overlook. She notices the people who drain your energy, the situations that make you anxious, the habits that slowly eat away at your spirit. She won't always point them out directly, but her energy will shift when she senses something that could hurt you. She'll try to steer you toward peace, not by force, but by gentle influence. When she becomes protective, she's not trying to control you. She's trying to preserve the version of you that she loves most. The calm, centered, focused version of you that the world often tries to shake. She becomes like an emotional shield, soft but strong, loving but firm, always making sure you don't lose yourself in the chaos around you. Her protection often comes disguised as advice, concern, or even silence. Sometimes she'll challenge you, not because she wants to argue, but because she sees potential in you that you're ignoring. She might call you out when you're being careless or remind you to rest when you're burning out. At times, she'll even distance herself momentarily, not out of anger, but to let you face your struggles on your own while silently watching your back. Her way of protecting is not about dependency, it's about emotional guardianship. When a woman is attached, she develops a quiet intuition about the person she loves. She can sense when your energy is off, when something or someone is affecting you negatively, and she reacts not with jealousy, but with care. Being protective means she's emotionally invested in your well-being, not just your presence. She'll celebrate your individuality and encourage your freedom, yet she'll also create a safe emotional space where you can always return. She doesn't need to control who you talk to or where you go, because her confidence in the bond you share replaces the need for possession. Instead of trying to keep you, she focuses on keeping you safe. Safe from toxicity, safe from exhaustion, safe from anything that dulls your spark. She carries your pain like it's her own, but she never uses it to manipulate. Her love becomes a quiet kind of protection, one that holds you without holding you back. When a woman becomes truly attached, her way of loving transforms into something pure, patient, and deeply selfless. She begins to invest emotionally without keeping any score. She doesn't measure her care, she doesn't count her efforts, and she doesn't give expecting something in return. Her emotions flow freely, not because she's naive, but because attachment for her isn't a transaction. It's an expression of who she is. When she starts to care, she does it with her whole being. She remembers the small things you mention in passing. She listens to your unspoken feelings. She supports you even when you don't ask for it. Her love becomes a quiet consistency, a kind of emotional loyalty that stays even when situations don't go her way. She gives not to impress or to earn your affection, but because she finds meaning in nurturing what she feels. You'll see this in how she shows up during your difficult moments. When you're struggling, she doesn't disappear. Instead, she becomes your calm, your safe ground, even when she's hurting inside. She might not have the perfect words, but she'll make sure you never feel alone. That's what emotional investment looks like when it's genuine. It doesn't need grand gestures. It thrives in small, quiet, persistent acts of care. She'll check up on you when you go silent. She'll celebrate your smallest victories as if they were her own, and she'll find peace in simply being there for you. Her attachment makes her heart prioritize your comfort, sometimes even before her own. But she doesn't do it out of weakness. She does it because giving is her nature when she feels something real. She won't demand your constant attention or reassurance, yet she'll always make you feel seen and understood. That's her way of showing that love doesn't have to be loud to be deep. She won't expect equal effort every time because she understands that attachment is not always balanced. Sometimes one heart gives more, sometimes the other catches up later. She gives because she believes in the connection, because she trusts that her emotions are safe in the space between you, even if you never promise her anything. Her patience, her understanding, and her silence are all part of the same emotional investment, a quiet commitment that doesn't rely on validation. You may not always notice it, but she's constantly nurturing the bond in invisible ways. She forgives easily, not because she doesn't feel the hurt, but because she values the relationship more than her pride. She adjusts when you're distant, she softens when you're cold, and she stays when things become uncertain. She doesn't threaten to leave or demand your gratitude. Her love is mature. It doesn't chase acknowledgement. It creates emotional security. She invests because it feels right, not because it guarantees a return. When she gives her emotions, she gives them fully, not as a gamble, but as a truth she's willing to live by. When a woman is truly attached, her love doesn't fluctuate with circumstances. It doesn't fade in silence, and it doesn't vanish in distance. Her consistency becomes the loudest form of communication she can offer. She doesn't need to keep reminding you of her feelings because her actions never stop reflecting them. Even on days when she's quiet, her presence doesn't disappear. She'll still be there in small ways, checking in, remembering what matters to you, offering support without making it obvious. That's the thing about a woman's genuine attachment. It's not built on intensity. It's built on steadiness. You'll feel it not in grand words or promises, but in the way she keeps showing up when the excitement fades, when things get messy, when emotions get complicated. Her love doesn't perform. It endures. Her consistency becomes a form of reassurance, a silent message that says, I'm still here. When she's deeply connected to you, she doesn't use affection as a tool or withdraw it to test you. She's not interested in playing emotional games. She believes that real connection isn't proven by constant words of love, but by presence that doesn't waver. You'll notice she keeps checking on you even when you've been distant. She remembers your needs even when you forget them yourself. She continues to care in the same way, even when she doesn't receive the same energy in return. That's not foolishness, that's emotional integrity. When her heart chooses someone, she stays aligned with that choice regardless of temporary changes. Her love becomes a pattern of quiet persistence, something you start to rely on without realizing it. You might not always acknowledge her effort, but it's there. in how she listens to your rants when you're frustrated, in how she forgives without being asked, in how she never uses your vulnerability against you. Even when she's hurt, her way of loving doesn't suddenly turn cold. She might pull back to protect herself, but she doesn't disappear completely, because consistency for her isn't about being perfect. It's about staying emotionally reliable, even in imperfect situations. Her loyalty isn't dependent on convenience. It's anchored in depth. When she attaches, her soul doesn't shift with temporary moods or arguments. She's not constant because she has to be. She's constant because that's how her love breathes. Her consistency also becomes her quiet power. In a world where emotions change overnight, her steadiness stands out. She doesn't need to prove her attachment through constant declarations. She proves it by being there again and again in ways that often go unnoticed. Even her silences speak, not of absence, but of endurance. You'll sense her presence in the simplest gestures, a message when you least expect it, a comforting word when you don't ask, or just her energy lingering when you feel lost. That's the kind of consistency that can't be faked, the kind that exists only when a woman's attachment runs deep enough to outlast misunderstandings, pride, and time.